Okay, the next step is to prepare your feathers, and this is the most economical way to do it. You can buy feathers in bulk, but they're obviously not ready to go on an arrow. So you buy a feather chopper, and you get this to look like that, and this is how you do it. There's really only one thing you can do wrong, and that's put the arrow in back, the feather in backwards. The feather's narrow end is this way, and the feather has to fly this way, so therefore you want the feathers pointing backwards. If you do it the other way around, you got to throw it away. So you put it in here. This is a little interesting. You got to try and get that quill to be flat up against the guide. Not terribly difficult. And then you chop away. One hit is all it takes. So plug your ears. Here goes. There's that. The feather invariably wants to fly away, and there it is. So now we have them ready to go on the arrow. Okay, what you're looking at is a fletching tool that makes it a lot easier to get the feathers on. There's a couple of things that are important. One is getting the feathers on straight. The other thing is getting the feathers spaced out properly. And there's a 3-feather arrow, and so each one goes 120 degrees off the previous one. And the third thing is to get one of them, the first one, or any of them actually, on that mark that I drew earlier. And so this device makes it a lot easier to do. This is how you rotate the arrow around. It's got detentes that stop at 120 degrees and get you what you're looking for. So now I've got it in place. The other aspect is the thing that grips the feather. And I've got it in there already. I'm going to take it out, and there's marks on the on this thing that lets you position all your feathers the same distance. So I'm going to put it at the 1/2 inch mark, which is right about there, and I'm going to try and get this thing so that it's not quite flush with the clamp. And so that's pretty good. So basically this thing is operated by a magnet that holds it in place, and then you let the glue dry, and then when you're done you squeeze the clamp and pull it off, and presumably the feather will stay there. So now all you do is you take your super glue and put on a bead of glue all the way down there. A little of this glue goes a long way. That's probably way more than enough. Now you have to fish around for the clamp. As you saw, it whacked it on there, and I get it to where it's lining up with the arrow, and it's on. Now I let it sit there. So here we have the finished product, the 3 feathers. One thing to note is that the feather that lines up with that notch that we talked about in the beginning, where I drew that line, is a different color than the other 2. It doesn't need to be, but it just helps the archer when he puts his arrow on the string to know which way it is up. And typically the perpendicular arrow goes away from the string, and this arrow is ready to shoot. Other things you can do are sand it down and get it prettier, and then also oil it, and then paint it, as I mentioned earlier. So there you have it, homemade arrow.